In this video, I'm going to lay out for you the ultimate life hack, and this is the very best of everything I've learned in 15 years of studying self-development obsessively. This is the very best of what I've learned in the most concise way possible. So the thing you gotta realize is that everything is encoded with subtle information. Everything in your experience. So everything really is energy information, or it's an energy that's encoded with a specific information code, you could say, or vibration, as a lot of people like to say. You can't really explain what energy is. There's an infinite field of potential, right? This field of infinite awareness, creativity, intelligence, and by some will of its own, it's able to create. It's able to give birth to existence. And so everything is this base substance, which you could call energy, and it's encoded with a certain information. So words are codes of information. The words I'm speaking right now, how do you understand, how can you gather meaning from these words? Well, you, as this awareness, as this consciousness ultimately, are able to take these words, and through your own inherent intelligence, you can derive meaning from it. This is the nature of reality. And so everything that you're perceiving, you derive meaning from it by receiving the information, and then through your own capacity to interpret, you derive meaning from it. So we have different names for objects in reality. These are codes of information. And so we're just swimming in this sea of information. In the quantum substructure of reality, it's just vibrating waves, and they vibrate at a certain frequency, and that determines its structure. So the importance of understanding this is knowing that when you optimize the information in your field, the information of the food that you're consuming, the messages that you're taking in, the information, the thoughts you're thinking, and more importantly, these subtle belief structures in your subconscious, most of these being imprinted and programmed into you in early childhood, oftentimes it's pre-verbal. So the information is just like a feeling. You absorb a feeling, and this formulates your beliefs about yourself, about the world, about other people, about your parents, etc. And so people who have a healthier childhood, they have a massive advantage in life. They typically will have better beliefs. Their belief structure, their self-concept is healthier, it's better. And so they have a huge advantage, and they're able to more easily create the type of reality and the type of life that they desire for themselves. Now, people who don't have the best childhood, and they get programmed with more negative beliefs, it's more challenging for them to experience the life that they want, because your belief structure, this information that you're programmed with on a subtle level, on a subconscious level, this forms your identity. And your identity has a certain structure, it has a certain boundary to it. And you can't experience anything beyond this boundary. So say you want to experience financial abundance, but you have this subtle belief that you just never have enough. You have this belief in lack, this scarcity programming. Then that boundary that you're within doesn't allow for you to experience financial abundance. This is the thing. So people will work and work and work, and they won't get the results that they want because their beliefs and their self-concept doesn't allow them to get it. Their core identity on the subconscious level doesn't allow them to get the results that they want. And so therefore it's impossible for them to live their dream life. It's impossible for them to have the experiences that they desire, so you have to shift your core identity. And how do you do that? Well, you recognize where the boundary is, and essentially you have to break beyond this boundary. So how do most people do that? Well, they put in a lot of effort, they grind, they work hard, and then what happens is they'll bump up against this boundary, and they'll experience challenge because of that. They'll experience a degree of discomfort, adversity, right? This is how you know you're bumping into the boundary of your sense of self, because it's very uncomfortable. right? Imagine this boundary, it's like a barbed wire electric fence, and you're like, ah, it hurts. So the people who achieve success is they keep going in spite of this pain, and they break through the boundary. They break beyond it. Then all of a sudden they start getting better results, right? So you break through that boundary, and then there's another one, and then you face that and you break through it, and there's another one. So these types of people, they're willing to put in the work and the effort to break through this boundary. Now, some people who have an unconscious belief that they can't achieve success, or they're just not enough. They have this belief that fundamentally, like, there's something wrong with them, and they can't get the success and the results that they want. These types of people typically will not break beyond their current boundary or sense of self, and therefore they won't get the results that they really want. And so the key here is to restructure your unconscious beliefs so that they are self-empowering and they allow you to get the types of results that you want. And there's a myriad of different ways to go about this. I'll delve into this more in future videos. I'm not gonna go too much into it because, you know, I could make videos for hours upon hours about how to go through this process. And also, I'm still learning. You know, as I continue to grow and expand and evolve, I'm still learning how to do this, because this is information that doesn't really exist out there. Like, I sort of feel like a pioneer in this field. There's some information on it, but a lot of the stuff I'm figuring out, I've never seen it anywhere else. I'm just kind of like figuring out for myself right now, which is cool, but it's also like kind of stumbling around in the dark, and it's a process of trial and error. So I'm still figuring this out, but you know you're coming up against an unconscious boundary that defines your sense of self when you have these sort of like emotional triggers. So say, for instance, this was a huge one for me. Say, you know, there's a woman I'm attracted to and I want to ask her out, right? In the past, when I would try to do this, I remember there were literally times I'd feel like I was choking. Like I couldn't even, I'd be like, hey, do you want to hang out? But I'd be like, do you want to hang out? And I feel like I was choking. I couldn't even get the words out because I had been programmed with this idea that I was, you know, unworthy or unlovable because of my relationship with my mom growing up. This programmed me with this unconscious belief that I am unlovable, right? That I can't get that connection that I want with the feminine, and my mother represented that as a child. And so this was a huge struggle for me, and it's something that I actually still to this day deal with, because when we're programmed with these things, before we even have the capacity for language, before we can even understand things conceptually, we get imprinted with a certain feeling. So this feeling for me was this sort of like powerless or helpless feeling of not being able to get the love and the affection and connection that I wanted. And so this is somatically imprinted into you. This was imprinted into me, into my nervous system. And so when I'm a grown adult and I want to ask out the woman, all of a sudden I start confronting that boundary, this unconscious belief that was imprinted into me, and I feel like I'm choking. You know, all of a sudden I feel this wave of fear come over me, this contraction pattern, because it was encoded into my nervous system. And so what you have to do first and foremost when this comes up is bring that unconditional love and presence to the feeling, to yourself, that you didn't get as a child. So you bring this unconditional presence, and it's like, I welcome this feeling. I'm completely here with you in this moment, in this feeling. And you're completely unconditionally present with it. And this presence, the key here, the thing with presence is it transmutes everything into itself. So when you're unconditionally present with a feeling, this feeling, it becomes transmuted into presence. Like if you've ever had a really intense emotion or intense fear or something of that nature, and you're hyper present with it, you'll notice that this intense emotion can actually fuel your state of presence and your degree of presence. It transmutes everything into itself. Unconditional presence, it's synonymous with unconditional love. So you bring this unconditional presence to the feeling, and then you ask yourself, what is the belief associated with this feeling? So you might think, maybe you think to yourself, oh, I can't get the love that I want. Then you ask the question, well, why? Why can't I get the love? I'm not worthy of it. I'm not good enough. Well, why is that? Why are you not good enough? I didn't get it when I was a kid. You know, like my parents didn't really love. Well, why didn't they love you? Because there's something wrong with me. So this is the meaning that you attributed to that feeling from when you were a child. You formulated this belief. This belief or this concept is the closest you can get in terms of information, these language codes, as I explained. That's the closest you can get to describing this feeling, or you could say this vibration that was encoded into your nervous system, into your psyche, into the body. There's something wrong with me. This is probably one of the most universal negative beliefs in human consciousness. There's something wrong with me. Like we have this inherent flaw that we can't change. And this is completely wrong, but until you start to address it and question it, you can't change it. So you think there's something wrong with me. Okay, is this true? Can you absolutely know for certain that this is true? Well, no, you can't know for certain. You can't absolutely know that that's true. Okay, how do I feel when I think that? There's something wrong with me. Oh, I feel bad, right? I feel kind of sad, kind of forlorn, kind of depressed. I feel kind of helpless and hopeless. It's not a good feeling, right? Okay, who would I be without this thought? If you never had that thought or that belief that there's something wrong with me, how would you feel? Who would you be? Oh, well, you'd be free. You'd know that you are inherently worthy. You're inherently valuable. You know there is nothing wrong with you. Everything is right with you. You have infinite worth just for existing. That's how you would feel. And so when you think this thought, oh, there's something wrong with me, notice how that feels in your body. And you do that same process of bringing unconditional presence to that specific feeling. If you're like, there's something wrong with me, allow that feeling to come up. Bring that unconditional presence, unconditional love to the feeling, and it will transmute it. And then you go through this question process that I illustrated. If you want to learn more about that, look into the work of Byron Katie. It's phenomenal. For the processing component, I'm really into the work of Eckhart Tolle and his teachings on presence. Look into that. It's really powerful. So I've basically just collected all the best of everything that I've learned over time. And I utilize these processes to shift the boundaries of the core identity and core sense of self. So ultimately you want to expand these boundaries so that you are unlimited in your potential and the potential of what you can experience in this life. So you can experience your dreams. And so a great way to do this is anything that's challenging for you. Anything that you feel, oh, you're pushing your edge or your boundary, do that. Do that specifically, and when these feelings come up, do that process of feeling it somatically, bringing unconditional presence to it, and then you can go through this questioning process. And then what you want to do is you flip it around. So instead of thinking there's something wrong with me, oh, there's something right with me. How is that true? There's something right with me. Oh, well, I have all these skills, and I've noticed a lot of people actually do love me. A lot of people do value me. You know, there is something right with me. Flip it around again. Oh, there is nothing wrong with me. Yeah, ultimately, you know, there's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with anybody. It's just, it comes down to the meaning that we give to things, right? And this is like the ultimate key understanding is there's no inherent meaning in reality. There's no inherent meaning in any experience. It doesn't have inherent meaning. We give it the meaning based on our beliefs, based on our unconscious identity and sense of self that was programmed into us. Shift the programming, shift the meaning, you entirely shift your experience of life. Even if the nature of the experience or the quality doesn't change, when the meaning you give it changes, all of a sudden, it's completely different. You live in a completely different reality when the meaning changes. How do you change it? You change the underlying beliefs. You change the belief structure in your subconscious. This is the key hack of all of self-development, how to experience anything that you want. And so, yeah, I'm still uncovering more and learning more. This was a recent epiphany I had, and it's probably the closest I've come to the Holy Grail of self-development in terms of like a process. So yeah, I'm really excited about this. Excited to share more. Try out that process. Let me know how it goes for you. Put it in the comments. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know how it goes. And I'm excited to share more about this. And yeah, I hope this is helpful for you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been Bodie. We'll talk again soon. Peace and love.